SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Recovery is a team sport, and Parkwood Behavioral Health System can help you get back in the game of life and break free from addiction. Visit parkwoodbhs.com. Parkwood, your recovery team for life's biggest wins. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this facility.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Hey, what's up? Let's do this on a Thursday morning. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, December 18th, 2025. 1 week from today. Oh, am I doing that right, Lance? 1 week from today? I feel like I have to double check this on the calendar visually. 1 week from today, Christmas Day.
Yeah, a lot of excited kids and parents will be worn slap out by 2 o'clock.
Yeah. You were doing that thing where you were like, what is he talking about a week from today?
Oh, I knew.
It's got to be Christmas. What math is he doing?
I was just making sure it was Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I was like, what day is today again?
Yeah. Christmas Day, a week from today. Blink, it'll be here. Blink again, and it'll be gone.
And if you haven't started shopping, time to get that going.
Giddy up. Giddy up. Thanks for listening. However you're listening, C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C Spire. Check them online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Thomas, the first message this morning. He says, morning, gentlemen, where are the deer?
In my backyard.
Well, I need to come set up a deer stand in your backyard because Obie and I went for the second day in a row yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So on Tuesday afternoon, we saw one buck, decent buck, but antlers on one side were broken off. And we weren't necessarily trophy hunting, but, you know.
That wasn't the one you wanted.
Yeah, no, we'll let him hang out for a while. Yesterday we went, and we didn't see a thing. We were walking out, I was like, Obie, man, love being with you. Hate it when we don't see anything. He goes, I didn't even see a bird, Dad. I said,
a storm was coming
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Love to hear from you. What you got going this morning? You looking at rain this morning? Puddles? You made it out and sitting in a deer stand? Just out on the patio having that cup of coffee? Hit us up. 601-879-4395. Oxford, you've got rain showers this morning, thunderstorms this afternoon. High of 63 degrees, winds out of the south and southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour. You know, sometimes the weatherman misses, but when he tells you that there is a 100% chance of rain, he doesn't usually miss when that's the forecast. Doesn't usually miss. However, a quick peek ahead to Saturday for Ole Miss's college football playoff game against New Orleans, and you will see this forecast. And this is one of those, are you serious? Except for a few afternoon clouds, mainly sunny. High around 65, winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour on the 20th of December.
That's a round of golf, like of perfection.
That is,
you want to hit it long,
spectacular.
Yeah, you got to line it up. You got wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. I mean, that's long knocking.
Not 25. That'd be miserable. 15.
I'm sorry, I'm looking down here where the gusts are up to 25 on Saturday. Yeah,
farther down the way.
South.
We got a few of those. Starkville, you've got light rain early today with thunderstorms developing in the afternoon. High near 65. Winds out of the south for you at 10 to 15. 70% chance for rain for you. Hattiesburg sounding pretty likely on the wet stuff. Cloudy, high of 72. Winds out of the south, 80% chance. Rainfall around half an inch. That's a lot of rain there. Ocean Springs, some thunderstorms this morning. Partly cloudy skies. Later in the day, 68 for your high. 90% chance of rain. It's going to be a wet day. Have you pulled up the radar, Lance?
I was looking at it a minute ago. Yeah, it's
like
damp
big green
and moist.
blob.
Yeah, damp and moist here and warm. Yeah, it's kind of got all the mixins.
Yes, it does.
Of a damp, rainy day.
Hopefully we can avoid the inclement, like the rough weather that sometimes comes along with, oh, wait, it's not supposed to be this warm, and it's going to get cold, and hopefully we can avoid that. Yeah, a lot of scattered green across the state of Mississippi, and that's going to continue throughout the day as get some weather that's coming up out of the Gulf of America. Franz Ferdinand was born on this day in 1863. The Archduke of Austria, whose assassination in 1914 led to declarations of war. World War I, born in Graz, Austria. The events of June 28, 1914 would forever mark Franz Ferdinand's place in history. He was on a visit to Sarajevo in Bosnia. Both he and his wife, Sophie, were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. The assassination set off a chain of alliances and events that led to the outbreak of World War I just a month later. The war, in turn, drastically changed the political landscape of Europe, eventually leading to the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire after the end of the Great War in 1918.
Yeah, so crazy. They actually missed getting blown up by a grenade, if I recall, on the first go-around earlier. They leave, he and his wife and the driver and I think another car, decide to continue on to where they were going and got turned around in an alley, and that's where Princip got him. And I think there was 3 of them total, but he was the only one that, actually landed the shot that eventually killed Franz Ferdinand, and then the rest is history.
Certainly is. This day in 1878, Joseph Stalin was born, the dictator and general secretary of the Soviet Union. Too bad he was born.
Yeah.
We could have done without him. Ty Cobb, born on this day in 1886, the Hall of Fame outfielder, MVP of the American League in 1911. In 1909, he won the Triple Crown, 12-time batting champion. Played with the Detroit Tigers, then went on to manage the Detroit Tigers as well. Ty Cobb from Narrows, Georgia.
He'd slide with some cleats up, they would say.
Yeah, and allegedly filed those spikes down, not like to make them lower, to make them sharper. Keith Richards is 81.
That's amazing.
Nope, he's 82 today.
It blows me away.
Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. Happy birthday, Keith.
What a dude, too. I mean,
who's going to live longer, Keith Richards or Mick Jagger?
Whichever one. I mean, I think they're each there must be like a martini by now, so I don't know. It's like a fine wine, I guess.
Steven Spielberg was born on this day in 1946. Regardless of how you feel about his politics, it is impossible to not be impressed, blown away with his cinematic work as a director. He has credits that include Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, and so many more.
So many of the bigwigs in the industry feel that Jaws is a perfect movie. And that's hard. There's only a couple. I'm trying to remember the others that have been kind of given that mantra, but Jaws being one that is always on the list. And what a remarkable movie, too, thinking about the special effects and everything to make that right and real.
Yeah.
And for all of those in the industry to see that and go, yeah, that looked pretty real to me at a time where that was not easy to do.
No, it was not. Not anywhere close. You remember the movie The Holiday?
Oh, yeah.
Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, and Kate Winslet, and Jack Black. I loved the scene where Jack Black, who's a composer, is explaining to Kate Winslet how music changes cinema. He's like, 2 notes, the greatest of all time. Da-da.
Yeah.
And where he just hits it on the keyboard, and it's like, he's right. Yeah. Give me another movie where you can give me 2 notes from the score, the big song score, and immediately, ooh, Jaws, look out.
It's like the Pavlov's dog, once you hear that, you've got it.
Yep. Ray Liotta, born on this day in 1954, Goodfellas, Field of Dreams, born in Newark, New Jersey, because of course he was. We got more on this day. We got some birthdays. We got news headlines. We got your sports update. We got a lottery update. Was there a winner? I'll tell you coming up at, about half an hour from right now. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back after this.
From the shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Found myself in a commercial break rabbit hole. I mentioned The Holiday. Talking about that scene from there where Jack Black was playing the 2 notes, talking about Jaws and the significance of music in cinema. I was like, man, what a cast that was. It's like, and then I was like, hold on, that movie's 20 years old. And so I started clicking on pictures of the cast, and Jude Law has aged, but he is, strikingly handsome.
Yeah, he's still sharp. He doesn't have that boyish look that he
that's
carried
right.
so well.
That's right. It's not the boyish look. Now it's like the silvered fox, chiseled jawline, specks of gray.
Peppered in there.
Yeah. Yeah. His mustache era was not his best.
No, but he can grow one. That's the thing.
Yeah, he can.
Like mine looks like a Brillo pad. It's going in every direction, even when I wax it.
So for you, it's simply can you or can't you, not does it look any good?
Yeah. I just got to put on. I've got to let it grow really, really long for it to actually behave. Okay. Otherwise it just goes in every direction. So I have a lot of envy for those that can tame it and make a mustache look right when it's it's not like a Sam Shepard. What was Shepard? What's his name? Not Shepard, but
yeah. Sam,
what's his name?
Mm-hmm.
The dude that does the commercial.
The
Cowboy Sam. Yeah, Sam Elliott. I'm sorry, I was just sitting there.
Thank you. There you go.
Great mustache.
Kate Winslet looks like she has not aged a day.
Yeah,
not one day. Cameron Diaz,
a little bit.
Cameron Diaz is. Cameron Diaz spent like 30 years not aging a day, and then she kind of let herself go a little bit.
Yeah, she's 53 now, and you can see a little. You can see it in her, but like you said,
and then there's she's someone that it just looks natural, but she's actually always made up. Mm-hmm. And then when she actually does the whole natural thing, like there's a candid picture of her doing Central Park, and I'm like, whoa, Cam, come on. Poor Jack Black, man.
Yeah.
That guy looks like he took the earnings that he made in Hollywood and went and lived in a cave.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite movies that he did as the star in was the Polka movie that was on Netflix. And, it's just, to me, it shows the range of his talent. To being a heavy guy and it's always, kind of cast in a comedic role. It was a dark comedy, but, I mean, he's very versatile. It's hard to. When you look at him, you go, wow, this guy's an actor? But, man, he's a good one.
Eli Wallach, rest his soul. Yeah. Arthur, he was so good.
I think Ed Burns is in that too, right?
Yeah. Another jawline guy.
Yes, sir.
All right. Like I said, it was a rabbit hole. Brad Pitt, 61 today. I mean, you could go down another rabbit hole of Brad Pitt if you wanted to.
Across the Tracks with Ricky Schroeder. That's his best movie, man, to me. Yeah.
Brad was born in 1963, an actor, a producer, born in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Fight Club, Ocean's 11.
Telling you, Across the Tracks with he and Ricky Schroeder. Both of them were like 18. Yeah, it's an awesome movie.
He was eating something in every scene in Ocean's 11.
That's about the way it was in Across the Tracks, eating a sandwich like in every movie, in every scene.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was born on this day in 1964. He is 61 years old today, a 6-time heavyweight champion, 4-time tag team champion, blah, 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 blah. Born in Austin, Texas, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Got to meet that guy in the airport in Dallas, I think, as the whole baseball team at Ole Miss. Somebody said, LT, man, I think that's Stone Cold over there. And it was, and he was the coolest guy, man. I mean, he let us kind of gather around and hang out for a minute and took a picture. And
that's cool.
Yeah, really neat guy. Man, he's a big dude, too. Bigger, I mean, as far as thick, I mean, that dude was a wall.
Yeah. Katie Holmes has a birthday today. Big birthday day, December the 18th. She was born in 1978. 1978. Dawson's Creek. Batman Begins. Tom Cruise's wife for a little while.
Man, I totally forgot she went all the way back to Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, Girl Next Door. I'm saying she has that Girl Next Door look.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
Not like that. Christina Aguilera, born in 1980, 45 today. I'm a genie in a bottle. All right.
I love it when you sing, man. I was bragging on the other day to we had an opera outfit on with Mary. And I was like, you need to give him a call. They're like, you talking about Richard Cross? I said, oh, yeah, he can bellow. He's great with theater. He knows his songs, and I might be giving him a holler. I said he needs some stage time. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I was setting you up, man. You got a gig.
No, I don't know about that. On this day in 1787, New Jersey became the third state to ratify the Constitution of the United States. This day in 1892, Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky's ballet The Nutcracker premiered in St. Petersburg, Russia. It is now the world's most performed ballet. His final opera, Isolanta, also premiered.
You got to wonder if they knew what they were seeing in 1892 at the very first, the premiere of The Nutcracker.
Are we going with Peter despite the fact that he goes with P-Y-O-T-R?
Yeah. Piotr.
Pete.
Good old Pete.
Although more people probably know him by his last name, Tchaikovsky. Mm-hmm. Today in 1917, some would say a dark day in the nation's history, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was passed, authorizing the prohibition of alcohol, approved by Congress, sent to the states for ratification. And they did. And a cottage industry was born. It goes by many names. Some call it bootlegging. Some call it smuggling. Some just called it moonshining. The Pink Panther premiered on this day in 1963, directed by Blake Edwards, starring Peter Sellers and David Niven, with the theme music composed by Henry Mancini. I don't know that it's a 2-note score, but it's not far from
like
it.
4, yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
I think those first 4 notes, it's the Pink Panther.
Today in 1966, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas airs for the first time on CBS. The animated special, directed by Chuck Jones, features the voices of Boris Karloff, June Foray, and Thurl Ravenscroft. Songs written by Albert Haig. 1972, the United States launched Operation Linebacker 2. That was not the plot to get the Colts out of Baltimore. That was the heaviest bombing of North Vietnam as negotiations to end the Vietnam War collapsed. Today in 2002, Calvin Klein, the designer, sold his company to Philips Van Heusen for $430 million. If you wonder how Calvin Klein ended up in department stores,
that's how, huh?
That is it. Because Calvin Klein was high fashion, and then Van Heusen was more everyday affordability. And there you go. How about this? A couple of movie notes for you. 2002, the second Lord of the Rings film, The Two Towers. $62 million in its opening weekend, $938 million worldwide at the box office.
I mean, I like all the Lord of the Rings flicks. I'm not a huge fantasy person, but those are legit.
Almost like J.R.R. Tolkien was pretty good when he was doing some writing.
Yeah, he knew what he was up to.
Yeah. 7 years after The Two Towers, you had James Cameron's Avatar starring Sam Worthington. You don't care who's in it. Sigourney Weaver's in it. Highest grossing film of all time. Never saw the movie, but I will tell you this. The ride at Disney World's pretty cool.
That's what matters right there.
Darn cool.
I can't remember what they spent on the first one.
It was a lot.
Oh, it was like a record at the time, if I remember. 2.3, it grossed over 2.3 billion. Estimated budget of around $500 million, so yeah.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. That made a lot of money, though, too.
It did. 2019 House of Representatives votes to impeach Donald Trump for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. And finally, 3 years ago today in the FIFA World Cup final in Qatar, Argentina beat France 4-2 in penalty kick shootout, PKs, after the teams were locked at 3 after extra time. Lionel Messi scored 2 goals for Argentina. Mbappe had a hat trick for France. That was an all-timer in terms of World Cup finals. World Cup in the United States in 2026. Well, actually played in the summer, which is when it's supposed to be played because, we're on the right side of the hemisphere. All right, news headlines, sports update coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross. Glad to be with you. It's Thursday morning, the 18th of December. More after this.
From the Zebra Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Gotta straighten up my backdrop a little bit there. There's a big old roll of paper towels sitting there. I'm in the process of cleaning my office, and it's one of those that gets bad before, like it gets way worse before it gets better.
You didn't sleep in it last night, though?
No. Slept great last night.
It's been so muggy, man. Last night you could sit around and tell that rain was coming. It was coming.
Josh in Panola says it's warm and misty at the Pope Cafe this morning. Thanks for checking in, Josh. Good to hear from you.
Hey, tell everybody hello for us, too, if you don't mind. I know that's probably a greeting spot.
I mean, this message on the C Spire text line falls into the category of apropos of nothing, complete non sequitur, but I'll allow it if I can interpret it, because your message made me think. I'm just going to read it exactly as it is written, and then we will decide together what we think it means. You should, nonviolent felons, people, that's not danger to society, have to the right to own firearms, even if they were charged federally. I think what he's saying, or she, is that nonviolent felons that are not a danger to society should have the right to own firearms, even if federally charged. I read that to Lance before the break, and I was like, I need to think on this for a minute.
That's an interesting one.
It is an interesting question.
And complex.
My gut reaction, without thinking about it, was, no. And then I started thinking through it, and I was like, I mean, somebody that went to prison for real estate fraud and served their time, should they be allowed to own a firearm? Maybe.
The Ninth Circuit.
After time, and then, hold on, I want to hear Ninth Circuit in just a second, but I just got to finish.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like, processing it through my head was like, well, okay, obviously the violent people can't have them. What about people that were convicted of drug crimes? Well, no, I don't want them to have firearms. I mean, are the white-collar people more likely to commit suicide with it or kill somebody? I don't know. And I think I would land on there are certain privileges in life, and if you commit a felony and you are convicted of it, you lose some of those privileges. This happens to be one. Might not be fair, might not be how it should be, but you shouldn't have done what you did because you kind of knew some of the punishment structure. Like, you might not have known exactly how long you would go to jail if you got caught, but when you commit a felony, you know that if caught and convicted, part of the backside punishment is you never can own a firearm again. I think I'm okay with that. All right, Lance, Ninth Circuit.
No, I was just saying that actually, that was an interesting comment on the text line because in 2024, the Ninth Circuit was filing a suit by the United States versus Duarte that was stating the same thing. Second Amendment rights apply to reintegrate nonviolent criminals in federal rights. But it's a federal law, and there are states its laws are even more stringent. So, an interesting debate.
Yeah, just my opinion. Yeah. Not trying to persuade yours one way or the other. All right, news headlines. No explosive devices found at Grenada's medical complex following a bomb threat yesterday. Authorities were notified of the threat yesterday morning. It reportedly was called in to the facility that houses the University of Mississippi Medical Center's Family Medicine Clinic on Sunset Drive. Officials promptly evacuated the building. Law enforcement showed up, Grenada Police Department, Grenada Sheriff's Office, bomb unit from the Grenada Fire Department, K-9 units from Highway Patrol, the Tupelo Airport Police Department, ATF, all contacted for assistance. No bomb. Don't be the guy that calls in a bomb threat. Although I would rather you be the guy that calls in a bomb threat that's not real than actually planning a bomb. Like, just don't do bombs. Good work by all involved. Roughly $1 million will be distributed to 8 organizations that assist human trafficking victims. Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced yesterday that the funding was made available through the Victims of Human Trafficking and Commercial Sexual Exploitation Fund. That was created by the legislature in 2020. To date, $9.5 million has been distributed since the fund's inception. Some of the recipients include the Center for Violence Prevention, $306,000. Domestic Abuse Family Shelter, $196,000. The Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence, $167,000. Southern Christian Services got $166,000. The list goes on and on. You can see the entire list on our website, supertalk.fm. Now, you should know that the legislative appropriation of $2.5 million for the fund, passed during last year's special legislative session, was vetoed by the governor. As a result, only partial funding for approved projects is being allocated at this time. Secretary of State Michael Watson says you need to be careful about a Bitcoin ATM, also known as a crypto ATM, an electronic kiosk designed to facilitate buying cryptocurrencies using any financial transaction card, including cash or debit cards. The machines have the appearance of a traditional ATM. They're located in convenience stores, malls, and other high-traffic areas. But you got to be careful because there are a bunch of scams involving Bitcoin ATM machines. Consumers can deposit money into the ATM, which charges a fee, transfers the money into cryptocurrency, and then puts the money into an electronic wallet. The consumer provides the address of the wallet. While the machines themselves are legitimate, criminals have intervened to steal people's money, typically by coercing victims into depositing cash into the machine, having it converted to crypto, and then deposit it into a scammer's crypto wallet or digital wallet, not the initial users. Hey. Those scammers are good. They are really good. One more for you. Tupelo is buying the store where the king of rock and roll got his first guitar. Officials announced earlier this week, Tuesday I believe it was, that the city had reached an agreement with the Booth family, the owners of Tupelo Hardware Company, to purchase the famous store. The deal comes after the Tupelo City Council voted unanimously to buy 2 of the 3 buildings that support Tupelo Hardware, along with the Court Street parking lot adjacent to one of the buildings. The mayor, Todd Jordan, said Tupelo Hardware Company is an important part of Tupelo's history. The opportunity to acquire these historic buildings ensures that Tupelo's story will continue to unfold and that citizens and visitors from around the world will always be able to walk through the doors at 114 West Main Street. It's where the king bought his first guitar. I wish I owned a property that the city just wanted to buy.
Where Elvis had bought his first guitar.
Yeah, preferably where Elvis had bought his first guitar. Anyway. Morning Sports Update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Hoops last night in Tupelo. The Ole Miss men's basketball team playing a air quotes home game in Tupelo. The Rebels got the win 80-66 after dropping 4 in a row. They've now won 2 straight. Big night for Malik Dia. He played 32 minutes, scored 27 points, hit 3 threes, and also had 7 rebounds in the game. Also in double figures, A.J. Storr, 14 points for him. Elias Comardine had 8 assists to go with 9 points and 5 rebounds. A better night for him. And by the way, he only turned it over 1 time. Ole Miss now 7-4 on the year. And we'll jump back into action on Sunday when they take on NC State in Greensboro, North Carolina. Then just one more game before conference play begins. That's Alcorn State on the 29th of December. All right. A couple of other SEC basketball scores from last night. Vanderbilt beat Memphis to go to 11-0. How about Vandy? 11-0. 77-70. Alabama beat South Florida 104-93. Bama now 8-3 on the year. Florida Gators hung 102 actually on St. Francis. 102-61 the final. The Gators are now 7-4. The Miami Dolphins may be done with the Tua Tagovailoa experiment after head coach Mike McDaniel hinted that they may be ready to make a change on Tuesday. It was reported yesterday that Tagovailoa was benched and rookie Quinn Ewers, former Texas quarterback, would get the start in Week 16. Your sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online, pearlriverresort.com. Presenting sponsor of the college football playoff shows today and tomorrow. SuperTalk Mississippi from the library on the square in Oxford. We're back with you right after this.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I have a confession to make. I promise you I had every intention of getting a Powerball ticket yesterday. And I did not. I didn't make it. I even thought about it last night. Was going to make that quick run at, 8 o'clock, hour before they stopped closing. Get a couple of numbers in the hopper, just give myself a chance. I forgot. And so it would have served me right if last night someone had been the big winner. Because you can't be upset with somebody winning if you didn't participate. And then I checked last night before I went to sleep, and it was results pending. Had that pit in my stomach. And even when I got up this morning, like the Powerball website should have gone directly to the Mississippi Lottery. Like they had not updated. And I was like, it's pretty clear. And then I got my morning email from the Mississippi Lottery, and I find out that there was no jackpot winner! We're still alive! Oh, we're still alive, and on Saturday, somebody is going to have a chance to win $1.5 billion. Have you noticed once somebody eventually wins, this thing's going to reset to 50 million. It's going to start over. It's going to go from 50 million to 60 to 70 to, 6, 7. It's just going to creep up. And then when that thing starts knocking on $1 billion doors, yesterday, the jackpot was 200. It was 1.25. That's $1.25 billion. For Saturday, it's $1.5 billion. That's a $250 million jump, one drawing to the next. I mean, we are 2 non-winning drawings away from a $2 billion Powerball jackpot. And that is the prediction that Lance has made. He said no winner until after the new year, which means we could be looking at an all-time record Powerball jackpot. Estimated cash value for Saturday night, $686.5 million. The numbers, these weren't winning numbers. 25, 33, 53, 62, 66. The Powerball was 17. As if. There's a jackpot winner in Mississippi Match 5. Ticket purchased at Murphy Oil USA in Macomb. Matched all 5 numbers to win the $54,000 jackpot. Congratulations. Be sure to download the Mississippi Lottery app. It is free. It is convenient. You will like it. That's your lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. $1.5 billion. I'm not going to lie. It does. Like, I understand the big flashing number at the top of the billboard. That's the one to grab everybody's attention. It does feel rather communist that, like, if you take the cash value and you pay your taxes, which you don't really have a choice on a prize like that, you only get a third of it. Used to be a half, but it has to do with bond markets and annuities and rates of return, and I'm not smart enough to understand all of that. But I'd still take the $400 million.
Oh, definitely. I still feel slighted that I didn't win the last big one.
Yeah.
Like right. September 6, 2025, the $1.7 billion. It went to the Missouri
Lance,
winners.
I have a significant question for you.
Yes, sir.
Did you buy a ticket?
I did. That's what I was saying. That's why I felt slighted. Yeah, I felt it in my bones, Richard, that it was mine, but it was not. Anonymous, Missouri, 7 Bridges Revocable Trust claimed the prize and wasn't even in the neighborhood.
Smart doing it that way.
Yeah. They're the only ones.
An anonymous trust claims the prize?
They're the only ones out of the last 5. Yet Edwin Castro, he was the 2.04 bill in November.
Yeah, I think California is a disclosure state also.
Yeah, Theodorus Struck, He was October the 11th, 2023. He brought home the big money of $1.7 billion, and then a bunch of names on the $1.5 billion in January 13th, 2016.
Uh-huh.
And then Chang and Duang Peng Sifang and Liazo Chao. They're the ones who won it last April for $1.3 billion.
I have jokes that I could make, but I won't. I got another candidate in the race for the District 2 congressional seat, this time a Democrat, running against Benny Thompson. Evan Turnage. Jackson, Murrah High School, Morehouse College, Yale Law School, running against Benny Thompson. This makes a lot of sense, and then you look at what he has done previously, and you're like, is this the guy you want to beat Benny Thompson? Chief counsel to then Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and senior counsel to Elizabeth Warren. Evan Turnage says Mississippi's second was the poorest district in the poorest state when I was born. Sadly, 33 years later, it still is. Time for someone to fight for Mississippi. We're back after this.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Yo! Thanks for being with us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, SuperTalk app. Grab it as a podcast if you'd like. All the above. All the ways, all the things. We are trying to make it as easy as possible for you to consume the content that you want when you want it. MRC is presented by Community Bank. We're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. So much going on at Community Bank. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. This hour, this 7 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough. And if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. You may feel like you're alone, but you're not. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide you with a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you and just you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. I am wrestling with how I feel about what Donald Trump said last night. Because my initial gut reaction, and maybe that's the one I need to go with, is not the same as the reaction when, well, if you drill down and you look closely, then what have you got? C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. I always want to be honest with you. I don't want to be disingenuous. And my first thought when I hear what Donald Trump says last night about the economy, I had Joe Biden flashbacks. I had Kamala Harris flashbacks. I really did. And what I mean by that is, you remember how they kept telling you during the campaign, hey, stupid, the economy's just doing just fine. the economy's doing great. And I'm going, it's really not. A dozen eggs is almost $6. A gallon of gas is over $3. Inflation is at 9%. Interest rates on mortgages are higher than they have been in a decade. My paycheck doesn't seem to be going as far as it used to. My expenses are going up. My take-home is not. So take the economy's doing great, stupid, and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. And I think that's how a lot of Americans felt. Maybe even most Americans. And it's why the economy was the centerpiece of this past year's election. So, when Donald Trump stands behind the presidential seal last night and tells us that the economy is doing quite well, thank you very much, is stronger than many people feel, my initial reaction is to say, don't you do that to me, Donald Trump. Don't do that to me. We watched Joe Biden do it. We watched Kamala Harris do it, and we sent them to the House, and we wanted different. Don't stand here and tell me it's good when I'm looking at my bank statement and I'm going, I have no money. Everything costs more. That's my initial reaction. But then, I got to think a little bit more. We're going to pretend for a second as if I have a brain. All of us are going to put our thinking caps on just for a second. The economy and all that goes into it is a massive, massive ocean liner that is sailing along in really stormy seas. And that ocean liner got an SOS message in the cockpit, and it said, turn around now. And the message into the cockpit was, I want a 180, slam on the brakes, yank the steering wheel to the left, and get going in the other direction. And the captain of that massive ocean liner in stormy seas said, roger that. However, my ability to turn around immediately is hampered by the size and the scope and the conditions around me. It's going to take a little while to get this thing going the other direction. Okay. So, are there signs that that massive ship in those stormy seas is turning? That the captain of that ship has said, it's going to take a minute, and it's not going to be easy. But we're going to get this thing moving in the right direction. And he spun the wheel on that deal, and he starts this big, slow, gradual turn to get those motors, those propellers, the one on the far outside right, pushing a little harder than the one on the inside left so that it can start to make that turn, to tilt the prop to get it moving. And I think the answer to the question of, is the captain of that ship, metaphorically, the economy, starting to move in the right direction? The answer to that is yes, I think. The Fed finally has brought the key interest rate down in consecutive meetings. Prices have gone down. Trump bragged about prices at the pump, which, by the way, the reaction to that is so stupid. He said $1.99 in some states. MSNBC, it's not look outside your window. It's $3.28. Shut up, moron. There are like half a dozen states where the average price at the pump is below $1.99. And that's what he was pointing to. And look, there is no fixing for Donald Trump or for anybody else the stupid policies you've got in California. You're going to pay $4 a gallon for gas because of the number of taxes that are attached to it. So comparing the gas prices in Mississippi, Missouri, Arkansas, and Alabama to California, New York, and New Jersey is stupid. They're always going to be $2 lower because you don't have the $2 tax added to it that they do. The media's not going to tell you that, though. Just like, right here in Los Angeles, it's $4.87 a gallon. Well, you choose to live there. Hope the weather's as good as you say it is. What about the other economic indicators that things are moving in the right direction? Inflation is at a multi-year low, not quite to the target 2% that the Fed wants, but not far from it, and a far cry from the 9% inflation growth we had under Joe Biden. Even at 2.5%, inflation is outpacing growth in earnings. And that is the reason that it feels like our money is not going as far as it should. So on the whole, Donald Trump, there's got to be a better example than the one I'm trying to use that's less crass. You know the one about the liquid on your head? Don't tell me it's raining. That's the one I'm talking about. Did he do that? Or was he shooting straight with the American people last night? Oh, make no doubt. There was spin on it. There absolutely was spin. Show me a politician that doesn't spin. Was the overall message a good one last night from Donald Trump? I think, very cautiously, I think the answer is yes. The American people see it that way. I don't know about that.
From the Venable Glass.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
There was another part to Donald Trump's address last night. By the way, Tucker Carlson, big swing and a miss on predicting that Trump was announcing that we were going to war with Venezuela on the information that he had received from Congressman. Said that on Andrew Napolitano's show, podcast, whatever it was. He believed that's what was going to be announced. Turned out it was just a brag session for Trump. Said he addressed the nation at the encouragement of Susie Wiles. The address lasted 15, 20 minutes. Reportedly, after it was over, turned to his staff, asked how he did. Said, "You did great." Asked to Susie, "How'd it go?" She said, "I told you to keep it to 20 minutes, and you kept it to 20 minutes on the dot. Good job." Will his words accomplish anything? I don't know. But he did announce a warrior stipend. Is that what we called it? Is that the right word? A warrior bonus. A bonus for military members. All of them. Everybody in the United States military, there's some symbolism here, is receiving a $1,776 bonus. Yes, a bonus, $1,776. And those bonuses are already being sent out. And they're going out before Christmas. A way for Donald Trump to say thank you on behalf of the United States to all of the military personnel. Of course, there are many that immediately said that was partisan in nature, that was about getting votes. I don't know. I kind of feel like when it comes to military, like the left wants to paint Trump as, oh, he doesn't like the military, but all of his actions point to the contrary. And goodness gracious, do you see the military reaction when he speaks to them in person? When they announced Donald Trump, the President of the United States, on the field Saturday in the Army-Navy game to toss the ceremonial coin, that place went nuts. Nuts. The AP writes it this way. President Donald Trump delivered a politically charged speech Wednesday, carried live in primetime on network television, seeking to pin the blame for economic challenges on Democrats while announcing he is sending a $1,776 bonus check to U.S. troops for Christmas. Josh Boak goes on to write that Trump has promised an economic boom, yet inflation has stayed elevated and the job market has weakened in the wake of his import taxes. Trump suggested that his tariffs, which are partly responsible for boosting consumer prices, would fund a new warrior dividend for 1.45 million military members, a payment that could ease some of the financial strains for many households. The amount of $1,776 was a reference to the coming 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, our birthday. The checks are already on the way, he said, of the expenditure of roughly $2.6 billion. What do you make of it, Lance?
What, all of it?
Yeah, just like, I mean, I understand that I just spent 20 minutes kind of laying out the whole thing, and I'm like, hey, what do you think?
I think it's an extremely complicated process to get data to really gauge where we are in the market. Me looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, the Dow has done well. You're in a longer-term trend that started back in 2023. The VIX, which is your volatility index, it really spiked early in this year, went way up, meaning everybody was worried that the end of the financial system was coming, but it didn't happen, and that was all based on tariffs. Since then, you've seen...
So it has settled?
Yeah, it's tightened back up. It's low. It's much lower than it was during the Biden administration. So the pairing of volatility to growth seems to be pretty healthy right now. So I don't see the gloom and doom that some are predicting.
Let me ask you this. Like, we could roll out 100 charts, pie charts, line graphs, interactive stuff that all point to economy doing well, healthy, good fundamentals. But don't you think for most people it simply comes down to, I'm looking at my bank statement online and I got more days left in the month than I've got money left in the month.
You and me, brother, I know how you feel. I think that is a definite reality to many, many, and probably most of the working Americans out there. No matter what level of it you're in, you have a bigger home, you make more money usually. You have a smaller home, you make a little less. Kids
make more, spend more?
Yeah. I mean, so it's not like our savings rate is increasing, and you've heard me mention that a good bit. So I think I would like to see the savings rate double from the point we're at now. That would prove to me that people are not living off of credit, living off of borrowing money with low rates. It's easy to do that. It's easy to move some stuff from one account to the other. That happens. So again, the economy's complex though, right? The markets are a kind of a gauge of where the economy is and in certain sectors where it's going. So, I think the analogy was very well put earlier where it's a slow turn, and anytime you think you're moving quickly and you turn too fast, things can get ugly. So as I've mentioned, I think the quarter point rate decreases were the right way to go, not putting the cart before the horse. So I think we're as a administration, seemingly trying to do things in a very organized and concerted effort. Yeah, I mean, again, things can change quickly, though. Bad things happen, good things happen. So, predicting the future is impossible based on what I know. So, you get close, but I would just say, keep your eye on the indicators. And But at the end of the day, as you said, inflation's got to continue coming down, and
it does,
and wages have got to continue moving up.
Ceasefire.
I'm sorry, the biggest cost there usually is your house and your health care.
Yeah. Ceasefire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. Mike in Gulfport. Good morning, men. President Trump believes in peace through strength. He does believe a strong military to keep us safe and not boots on the ground. We're heading for a huge next year. Naysayers need to cool their anger. Yes, I know money is tight, but we are heading in the right direction. It takes time, as you said just a moment ago, to turn the ship around.
Yep.
Ceasefire text line. My wife is in the Mississippi Army National Guard. She's saying the check is for active duty only, just the info she was told. That's possible. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to argue with what your wife was told. Biggest problem is we are in a K-shaped economy. The top 10% of earners are accounting for 50% of the new spending.
Well, I mean, that hasn't
probably
changed.
Not different.
Yeah,
but the top 10% of earners are also paying what percentage of the tax burden? Revenue.
Well, I mean, were we talking about redistributing wealth? We're not going to. We can't discourage capitalism here.
No. Trump and these folks in Congress think a $1,300 a year pay raise, which he touted does anything for the American people, is a joke. They will lose the midterms. Well, so tell me what you want. If somebody says, "Hey, I'm going to give you a raise," and you're like, "Great, how much?" And they're like, $1,300, and you're like, it's just barely $100 a month. What's that going to do for me? Well, what do you want the person that gives you a raise to do? Do you want it to be a $13,000 raise? I mean, sure, we all do. But what employer is going to just be like, here's an extra $1,000 a month? Because you're probably not the only person on the payroll that they're paying. You're going to do that across the board? For all employees? And so when you get a $1,300 raise, I mean, what you are hoping for in terms of pay is scale. Right? You want incremental. Now, if you're in a spot where you get a raise every 5 years or every 7 years, and it's a 2 or 3% raise, that's a tough spot to be in because it's hard to grow that way. But if you're in a spot where you get a 1.5%, 2%, 3% raise annually, well, that's how you get to the incremental deal. And if you stick with it and you look up and, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like significantly more money, and that's how it's supposed to work. It's not necessarily how it always works anymore, but it's what you hope it's going to be. Thomas says we wouldn't need a raise if the government would cut spending like they promised on the campaign trail. Yeah. Thomas, you got all the answers, brother. I appreciate it. I really think you probably should host this. It may not be as lucrative as your current career. But, you've got all the answers for all the problems. It really is spectacular. Coming up next, Lars Larson, host of the Lars Larson Show, right here on Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Seabrook, Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Where your health matters.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, D'Iberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Well, we're moving on now. To the east side. To a deluxe apartment in the sky.
Hey, it is Mornings Mornings with Richard Cross, rolling through a little over halfway through on this Thursday morning, the 18th of December, 1 week from Christmas. Happy to be joined right now by a man whose voice you certainly will recognize, Lars Larson, host of the Lars Larson Show. It airs at 6 p.m. weeknights right here on SuperTalk Mississippi across the great state of Mississippi. Lars, good morning and Merry Christmas.
Good morning and Merry Christmas to you and yours, Richard. I loved hearing Moving On Up because I'm old enough to remember watching on live television and not on reruns the show on television that song went with. So good on Lance.
Tell them about it, George Jefferson. Gotta love that. We get an address from the president last night. There were some that said, he's going to announce a war with Venezuela, that we are fully engaging. That is not what he announced. He talked about the economy, and he talked about a warrior dividend for those who are in the military. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier this hour, and I said that my initial reaction was don't do this, Mr. President, because you sound like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did during the election season, where you're telling people the economy is great, and they're looking at their bank statements and going, no, sir, Mr. President, it is not. But if you take a little closer look and you look at some of the fundamentals of the economy, I likened it to a massive ocean liner that is turning. It can't just turn on a dime. It's a big, slow turn in rough seas. How do you equate the message that he delivered last night about the economy?
Well, Richard, unfortunately, I like Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump. I support Donald Trump. But there are times I disagree with him. And one of the things where he gets himself in trouble is hyperbole. And almost all of us are tempted to do it. I would bet that Mississippi, just like my part of the country, is full of people who caught a fish that was this big. No, it was more like this big. No, maybe it was this big. So he gets on and he says, inflation was, 20%. It wasn't. Inflation is now gone. It's not. It's 3% or 2.7 in groceries. And so why not just talk about the real numbers and then say, just like you said, we got a big problem. We had 4 years of massive inflation that totaled up to as much as 30, 35, 40%, depending on what you're looking at, which part of the economy. And we are now bringing it down to the tolerable level that most people accept 2% a year. So if you have 2% inflation and you get a 2.5% raise or 2.7% raise, then you are moving up. You really are doing what the Jeffersons did. But instead he wants to brag, on numbers that just aren't real. And the problem is these days it's too easy to fact check all of that stuff. And you weaken your own message. I've found, and I'll tell people, they'll call in and give a number. A caller will do that. And I'll say, no, don't use that number. That's not real. Use the real one. You use the unreal one, people will immediately blow a hole right in the middle of your argument. And unfortunately, Donald Trump falls victim to that. I mean, maybe it's his background as a developer. If you're a developer, you can't go in and say, we're going to make modest returns by investing your money. You've got to go in and say, we're going to make a ton of money on this project. Well, that may work in being a developer or a promoter of various different kinds of enterprises. It doesn't work as president.
If you go year over year, December of 24, it was at 2.9%. November of 25, we're at 2.7%. So it is a modest drop. Now, that 20% number, you've got to go back to, late 22, which is coming off the heels of all the crazy pandemic spending. Yes, at that point it was up around 20%, but in fairness to former President Biden, it did drop pretty significantly over the next 2 years. What was good about what the president said last night? Was there a positive takeaway that you took?
Yeah, there was. Among other things, I wish he'd done more selling of the fact that January 1, all of us, rich people, poor people, middle class, would have been facing a massive increase in taxes. And that's one you can't dispute, because it's one thing to say, this is what we expect inflation to be or where we expect gasoline prices to go, but that's a little bit of crystal balling. When it comes to taxes, you're going to get a bigger tax return if you file in April. You could file early, but I plan to try and file early next year. But taxes will be lower. And because they didn't change the withholding tables this last year, your employer was still withholding as though the Trump tax cuts were going away, the ones from 2017, and they weren't. which means almost everybody is going to get a bigger refund when they file their taxes. And the boss won't be, or the HR business office won't be taking as much out of your check. And the problem is, you have to remind people of that because most people, I'm not a tax accountant. I have a lady who's been doing my taxes for years. In fact, I've never done my own taxes. I figure $50 for H&R Block way back in the day was probably well worth it because they knew something that was worth at least $50. But when you do your taxes, you say, well, these are the taxes I would have paid. People, and I've been trying to remind my audience that if Kamala Harris had become president, the Trump tax cuts would not have been extended, and you would be paying much more in January, and you would have been getting much less back when you file your taxes. Except maybe Trump doesn't find that exciting enough. I think what he managed in 2017 with the tax cuts and to manage to preserve them because they were due to go out of existence 13 days from now, and they're not going to go out of existence 13 days from now. That's a huge win. I mean, the estimate is anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 a year for the average family. I mean, that's real money, $250 to $500 a month that wouldn't be in your check if Trump hadn't been elected, that is in your monthly income because he was. That's a big deal.
You know, if your paycheck is, I don't know, $2,000 a month, you'd love for it to go up to $2,500. But if it stays at $2,000, but you owe more than you did, and so you would be taking home less, I mean, it is, I suppose, the equivalent of a raise, or what it would have cost you if not for the results that we have. I said yesterday that this week may have been the worst week of Trump's presidency in terms of optics. I thought the Truth Social post that he made about Rob Reiner, just a complete unforced error. You get the Vanity Fair story.
That's the term I used, Richard. Unforced error. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, tennis where you hit it out of bounds 2 in a row and you give up a point in scoring. That's what we're talking about there. And then you get the Susie Wiles story in Vanity Fair, which everybody's kind of standing behind Susie Wiles, and I think overall she's done a phenomenal job. But again, it seems like something that's so out of character for this administration, this go-around. They've been far more disciplined. They were more disciplined during campaign season, and they've been more disciplined in this first year of the new administration. And yet, what happened? Like, why did they trust, of all places, Vanity Fair to tell the story of this administration?
I don't know. And a lot of the judgment calls have been made by the Trump administration. And I'll tell you, Richard, way back a decade ago when he announced he was going to run, I said, look, I support him. I support the things he's doing. But when I disagree with him, I'll tell you. And I've always told my audience that because there were other people who were either never Trump, like, you know, Mr. Levin, who, somehow went from never Trump to completely, totally pro-Trump, which I don't understand. I was always pro-Trump. But the problem is, they make some weird judgment calls. I don't understand his take on pot. I don't understand a number of the pardons that he has issued that just are inexplicable. Yeah. Why are you pardoning this person? You know, whether it's a foreign leader that gets a pardon or even some ordinary criminals here in the United States, I don't get it. And so I don't know the judgment calls. And when it comes to media judgment calls, I don't know. His first couple of years, we talked to him a number of times. He isn't talking to a lot of the most conservative of us out here, and I don't know whether he's re-triangulating where he's going with media or if there is no direction, or maybe the direction is being set by 20-somethings in the White House press office who don't have any background or anything else, and they say, oh, but Vanity Fair, that's a big one. Let's get her in with that. It doesn't make any sense because she didn't come off well. It put Trump in an awkward spot, and there you go.
This is not a game, right? Politics is not a game, and yet sometimes we refer to it as a game. And if we're saying, you know, in this big game, ultimately what matters is what happens a little less than a year from now in the midterms. I think if this Trump presidency maintains the majority in the House and the Senate or increases it, there is an opportunity for the next 3 years, in the final 2 years of his presidency, to be really, really special. If they lose the midterms and lose the advantage that they have in the House, I don't think they're going to lose it in the Senate, then this final 2 years has a chance to be a disaster where nothing gets done. Are they on the verge of losing the midterms in 11 months?
I don't I honestly don't think so, Richard, because I hope that Americans will look at this and past all the bluster and hyperbole I talked about a moment ago. I think Americans are realizing things are better now than they would have been. And that's a big positive.
Sell,
it is the economy, stupid. What's that?
That's a hard sell.
It's a hard sell. It is. But, and what other way can you do it? And I don't believe in necessarily blaming the last guy for all of your problems, but you were right when you made the mention of all the trillions of dollars that were shoveled out unnecessarily after the pandemic. And now we saw where most of it went. It went into fraud and waste and abuse, and it jacked up everything in the economy and threw everything out of line. And it does take time to bring it back. I hope Americans recognize that.
Quick timeout. We got more coming up with Lars Larson. We're going to hit on Dan Bongino and his resignation, his thoughts on the Brown University investigation, and maybe healthcare subsidies.
From the Venable.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Lars Larson is my guest. He is host of the Lars Larson Show. You can hear it right here on Super Talk Mississippi, weeknights at 6 p.m. Glad to have Lars along. Always enjoy the conversations. Dan Bongino stepping away from the FBI in January. You may not be a fan of the musical Hamilton, but there is a scene in that musical where George Washington is talking to Alexander Hamilton. On the heels of winning the Revolutionary War, Hamilton's trying to put the new banking system in and get the states to assume debt, and there's this back and forth. And George Washington says to him, "Winning was easy, young man. Governing is harder." I'm wondering if that's what Dan Bongino found going from a podcast talking about the fallacies of the FBI and tearing it all down to being the number 2 at the FBI and finding frustration in governing and helping run that organization.
Well, actually, I think his frustration is the same as a lot of ours. Dan used to be a guest on my show from time to time, and then he went off to do his own podcast, and he has a great background in the Secret Service and law enforcement. But you're right. I think he ran into a big, fat brick wall that all of us are seeing more evidence of. The establishment within Washington, D.C. is just bound and determined to hang on to power. And they've blocked so many things. I mean, I could give you a number of examples. The J6 bombing case that was right there, and they sat on it for no reason. The Clinton investigation on Uranium One and selling our reserves to Russia, that went nowhere. And you realize there are a ton of different forces within D.C. that you don't see on the outside. And they're not represented by somebody elected to office. They're represented by a bunch of people in the bureaucracy. And I think Dan Bongino ran into that brick wall and realized, I can't get anything changed here. It's going to be very difficult to get any changes at all. Even on things like, why don't we investigate this crime? We have all the evidence right here. They won't do it, especially if it involves powerful people like, for example, the Clintons.
Can anybody get past that brick wall?
I think eventually, but wearing down that bureaucracy is tough. I think we all imagine that the presidency is a lot like running a big company. And if a big company, if the board of directors chooses a new CEO because they think the company is running the wrong direction, which is kind of equivalent to what the United States did in putting Donald Trump in after 4 disastrous years of President Otto Penn. But the problem is the head of a new company can say, you are fired. You're no longer head of that department. We are going this direction. And I'll bet there are even CEOs who tell you how tough it is to go after entrenched bureaucracy. In the federal government, it's even worse because a lot of those people legally are almost unfireable, and they know it.
We are now into day 6 post-Brown University shooting, in which 2 young lives were lost and 8 others were wounded. And listening to these press conferences on a daily basis kind of makes it feel like you're shoving your head through a wall or trying to, and you're running into a stud that's behind the drywall. Is there anything you hear from the leaders in Rhode Island and at Brown University that gives you hope that this is moving in the right direction?
No. And what's inexplicable is, number one, almost everywhere we go in America, there are tons of cameras, CCTV or Ring doorbells or whatever it is. And here, all of a sudden, you have this major university in an affluent community And affluent communities are full of CCTV on private homes, and we have 2 little scraps of video, poor quality video at that, of one suspect. And I just saw yesterday the police chief trying to explain why 5 days in, they had not talked to the students who were the eyewitnesses to what happened, the 2 dead and the 8 wounded, and said, we'd like your description of the man. And that doesn't make any sense at all. I've covered courts and cops for most of my career as a reporter. And you think the first thing you do is talk to the witnesses and say, let's get you with a sketch artist. Let's get a picture of this character and let's get it out there. And you get the feeling, the very distinct impression, they're holding something back and they're afraid of the political implications. And you and I have covered a lot of crimes in the last 5 years where the crime itself was a horrible thing, but it has political implications. And to many of those in charge, that's more important to hide or cover up or obfuscate than it is to actually go after the bad guy, because the bad guy's arrest or prosecution is going to have political implications for all of you. Maybe it's, political, you can name all the reasons. Trans,
do you believe it was targeted?
Islam, etc. What's that?
Do you believe that this was a targeted killing?
It doesn't smell like a targeted killing. It really doesn't. There are some that have that, but this could have been. Most of the time, if you have somebody who's very angry about something, they take out their anger on the person they're angry at. So I guess you could say in some ways, most killings are targeted. Yeah. That's why the police will frequently focus on friends and coworkers and family as the first suspect. But in this case, I don't get that impression.
No. I don't, and I have a very I know the father of Ella Cook, the young woman that was killed, and I'm just,
oh my God, I'm just so sorry.
Yeah, I'm just at a loss on the whole thing. I don't want to believe that it was targeted, not for that sweet young lady who had her entire life in front of her, and the young man that was killed as well. So, tough stuff though, tough stuff. We're out of time, Lars. I always appreciate your time. You can listen to the Lars Larson Show, 6 p.m. weeknights right here on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, and look forward to visiting with you in 2026.
And the same to you and yours, Richard. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thanks, Lars. We'll talk soon. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
Wake up. Get up and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
O'clock hour. Good morning once again to you. Thanks for being with us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Streaming online at supertalk.fm. You can watch at SuperTalk TV. Show's presented every day by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Thanks again for being with us this morning. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Happy to welcome in our next guest this morning. Todd Jackson is Vice President with the Area Development Partnership of Greater Hattiesburg. That encompasses the Pine Belt, where a lot of good things are going on. Todd, we've talked a lot about economic development, and over the last decade, there's been a lot of focus on the Golden Triangle and the incredible work that they have done at Link. There are other parts of the state where you've got counties that are kind of binding together to create partnerships, to create alliances to try and attract economic development projects. And most recently, we've talked about the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the three coast counties in particular coming together to work on some projects. And there's kind of some pushback. You are in a part of the state where one of these partnerships has come together and is starting to yield results. Tell us a little bit about that.
Richard, thank you so much for having us on this morning and having given us an opportunity to just kind of talk through the good things going on here in Greater Hattiesburg. And, man, you're exactly correct. There are great things happening all across the state of Mississippi. There's some amazing economic developers and some of my best friends in this field making good things happen in Mississippi. And as a hometown Mississippi boy, that's exciting. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. Steve Lampton, one of my supervisors in Lamar County, was the one who kind of heard some of the previous conversation and thought, man, we're doing all those things. I'd love to kind of talk about it. So, look, let me give you a little bit of background on what's happening here. So Forest and Lamar counties have come together to form what we call the Forest-Lamar Alliance. They are afforded that opportunity through the Regional Economic Development Alliance Act, passed through the legislature years and years ago. Several communities around the state have leveraged this act to bring counties together to pool their resources, where they can go after specific things and then share in cost 50-50 and revenue 50-50. So that's what we're doing here. The real secret to this is selfless leaders that really put their community and their citizens kind of over their, boundary lines or, exactly what they want for their county. They're wanting things to be better for the region as a whole because, rising tide lifts all ships. So that's exactly what happened. And then from there, I would have to step back, 10 to 13 years ago. Chad Newell, the president of our organization here at the ADP, looked around and was kind of like, man, we've got a very mature industrial park at the Forest County Industrial Park. Man, it employs or has companies in it from, let's say Western Container, Sofidel, Wizpack, Kohler, which is now Relco. There's over 4,000 people employed in that industrial park, and it's fantastic. But the reality, Richard, is in Hattiesburg, most people don't even know where the industrial park is, right? It's kind of funny around here. So our economy is built on healthcare, education, and the military, of course, with Camp Shelby just outside of town. Right. So if we want to further diversify our local economy, well, the industrial sector is a great way to do that. But we were running out of real estate. So the team at the ADP at that time started doing an analysis on property all over kind of the greater Hattiesburg region and force ranked those in a big matrix. It's a real technical process, but then came out with what we call the Eagle One mega site. That's 2,100 acres of property with 3 miles of frontage on I-59, over a mile of frontage on Highway 11. It's located at the intersection of I-59 and Highway 98 East. It's just outside the city, which is kind of rare. You see a lot of times when you have large industrial sites like this, they're located a good ways out of town. Right. This one is literally 10 minutes from the doorstep of the University of Southern Miss and all the amenities that Hattiesburg has to offer. So the Forest-Lamar Alliance is really that body that is made up of 2 supervisors from Lamar County, 2 supervisors from Forest County, and then a business community representative that is someone that sits on the ADP's executive committee. So you've got a great representation from both counties, a representation from the business community, and then we're all working together, man, to develop this property and recruit a large industry or several different large industries to South Mississippi.
I'm reminded of the great baseball movie, A Field of Dreams, where Kevin Costner's character builds a baseball field in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa, and the catchphrase from that movie is, if you build it, they will come. You're in the if you build it part. You've built it and are continuing to develop this area. Now you're waiting for the they will come part. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And that is one of my favorite movies. I can get all romantic about that. And one day we will be playing catch with our dad out there, I would assume, But the reality, man, is that this stuff is hard. I know, this is a radio program, but you and I are actually looking at each other on the screen. Richard, you may notice I've got a lot of gray hair because this process of developing a large mega site is extremely hard. And kudos to my friends across the state of Mississippi that have done this before and recruited large industry to the area. They deserve all the credit because this stuff, most citizens see this as like, wow, that large industry just located there last week. They must have just up and decided to invest in so.
Just going to drop it in.
That is not the reality. There is a whole lot of work that has to go on to get to that point because in reality, and you've heard this from my friend Bill Cork with the Mississippi Development Authority, companies are really looking for speed to market, right? They have made this decision to invest hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars in their business, and they want to get that product to market to start making revenue as soon as possible. Well, having prepared real estate with all of the infrastructure, all of the necessary permitting and due diligence studies and all of those things done, it's a process to go through those, and it costs a lot of money to do it and a lot of courage to do it. So those supervisors in Lamar County and Forest County have really come together and determined, you know what, we're going to strap this on. We are going to be committed to this process, and we're going to go spend the money to make good things happen that will bear fruit eventually.
So I'm curious about what the waiting process is like, because you sit back and you're like, okay, we have made all of the decisions that we believe are the right decisions to prepare this. And we believe in the long-term goal here, but we've got $30-ish million tied up in the development of this project. We've got 2 counties that are on the hook together for this. What is that like to sit and wait? I know it's not idle where you're not doing anything, but you want the payoff on the backside to prove that this was the right decision. And you've seen it be the right decision in other places. What's the in-between like?
The in-between, man, if I could say one word, Richard, is just to be honest with you, it's painful because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of investment decisions, right? You're making this investment kind of betting on the come, right? So there's nothing to show for it initially. It's very hard to do. And, of course, this is a lot of public money, both at the local, state, and federal level. So we're making decisions with people's tax dollars in order to provide a better life, better opportunity for Mississippians down the road. But, man, that period in between is pretty tough. I'll say this, and I tell our team this a lot. The temperature or the pressure is no higher than it is right here in this office here at the ADP. We are the entity that is literally kind of traveling all over the world, working with every partner known to man to try and recruit that company here. We've been close several different times. That's one of the most painful things in the world, to work a project for a year, sometimes a couple of years, even more sometimes, and then be told you're the bridesmaid. That's a pretty rough process. But I'll be honest, every one of those situations, just like in life, you can, either quit and go home, or you can allow that opportunity to make you better, right? And that's what we've done in every step of this process. Our whole team, supervisors, all the way down to our team and all the supporting partners are like, all right, we got close again. Now let's shore up this area, or let's go correct this issue, and then let's go forward, and we're going to get there. Ultimately, I think what this really takes is a deep belief in your community and belief that your community can be successful.
Visiting with Todd Jackson. He's the EVP with ADA, the Area Development Partnership for the greater Hattiesburg area. Let's continue the conversation on the other side of this break. Economic development is not one size fits all. Not all companies that you recruit are necessarily the right company for your mega site or for your area. How do you decide what the right companies to recruit are? We will talk about that on the other side of this timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back with Todd Jackson right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Brush your hair back from your eyes.
Thursday morning, December 18th. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to have you along. Quick reminder, this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi will be live in Oxford, getting you ready for the college football playoff game that Ole Miss is hosting this weekend. Former players, Ole Miss administrators, and others will join the conversation. The coverage is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and Southern hospitality. Todd Jackson is my guest. He is Executive Vice President with the Area Development Authority. Is that right?
Area Development Partnership,
ADP. I was trying to make it ADA. ADP, Area Development Partnership. That is economic development in the Pine Belt. We're talking specifically about Lamar and Forest counties, the Eagle One mega site. And I teased this before the break, Todd. Economic development is not one size fits all. Just because an automobile manufacturer goes in one place doesn't mean it would have worked in another place. Just because an aluminum mill goes in one spot doesn't necessarily mean that because you have a mega site that is available that's the perfect fit for you. So in terms of evaluating opportunities, what are you looking for? What in your mind makes the most sense for your region of the state of Mississippi in terms of a tenant or multiple tenants at this mega site?
Yep. Richard, you make a great point. There's definitely not one size that fits all. And for us specifically, one blessing that we have is that Hattiesburg is an extremely diverse community, right? It's a very economically diverse community. We're trying to further diversify that. But we're not like a big petrochemical town, right? Like you're going to see like our friends down on the coast or our friends over in Louisiana. Right. That's probably not our fit, but we can handle a lot of what we call advanced manufacturing, which is kind of a wide variety of things. I think we see that in our industrial mix here. We're making everything from engines to a lot of plastic injection moldings to paper products, wood products. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. What we're really looking for on the mega site, Richard, is a very, very successful and financially resilient company looking to invest hundreds of millions of dollars because there's kind of a threshold that you've got to be over a certain investment in order for the community's investment to actually provide a return, right? Yeah. So we're going to have to get our money back out of it from a public standpoint. And then ultimately the name of this game is we want to create opportunities for Mississippians, right? I love some of the data center projects that have happened across Mississippi. Those are outstanding. The reality is we don't feel like a data center, and I'm not saying this kind of across the board. There are certainly some that may fit. But in reality, when we've worked some of those projects, they utilize so much electricity, sometimes a lot of water, and really don't provide a tremendous amount of jobs, not taking anything away from those projects. I'm so pumped about those projects for Mississippi because I think they're really going to be very good. But ultimately, we want to create jobs here. That's the intent with this mega site. And so you kind of have to have that conversation as a team, right? Because just because Todd Jackson may view it like that really doesn't mean anything. My opinion doesn't matter. It matters what the leaders in our community think, right? And so we've kind of collectively come together and established some thresholds on capital investment, job creation, types of industries, and that type of thing. So it's really important for everybody to be on the same page.
You mentioned your proximity to the University of Southern Mississippi. I think you said this site 10 minutes from the front doorstep at USM. Right. You think about Golden Triangle Development Link, their proximity to Mississippi State. You got a partnership now with Lafayette County, Panola County, Tate, and Yellowbusha. Proximity to Ole Miss. What is not just the benefit, but the level of importance of being close to a major university to potentially be able to partner on the backside of a company coming in and saying, hey, we want to do that? Or maybe it's not on the backside. Maybe that's on the front end where you've got to put some of those things in place.
Yeah, Richard, I'll be honest, man. It's almost a little hard to overstate that value of being in a college or university town. We've got the University of Southern Mississippi here, William Carey University. Right. We've got Pearl River Community College. There's 26,000 college students in a 30-mile radius of Hattiesburg. It's a very young community, a very diverse community. So I would say on the front end, Richard, it is a kind of a competitive advantage, obviously, to be in a university town, kind of a vibrant college city. Dr. Joe Paul loves to say that we are Mississippi's prominent university city, not just a college town. This is a city. And it really helps us sell on the front end because of all of the, economic things, the workforce, labor things that it provides. But then on the back end, and we've seen this during projects, while we're working projects, not only are we able to bring them to the universities and show them some of the amazing facilities on campus, but also connect them with subject matter experts in the university to be able to help them with whatever their specific industry is or whatever their labor force needs may be. So that really is a competitive advantage for us, no doubt.
And I guess an example of that, you just mentioned William Carey a second ago, the very public partnership that they have with Howard Industries, where they have kind of targeted a specific need within the Howard Industries infrastructure, where they're trying to educate students in a way that will prepare them to go to work for them or others, but specifically for them.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful example, man. Anytime institutions of higher learning of any type are working hand in hand with the business needs of today, right? Mm-hmm. Not the business needs of the early 2000s when I was in college, but the business needs of right now and the next 10 years. That is, that's exactly how it's supposed to work, right? So, William Carey does a great job of that. USM has those things also, and I know there's other great examples around the state, but it really is a competitive advantage for us specifically and across the state of Mississippi.
Are you close enough to the coast to derive any benefit from some of the industry that is already at work in those three counties, Harrison, Hancock, and Jackson?
So we talked about a little bit of the roadway infrastructure that surrounds our site right now earlier, but we also have 3 Class 1 rail lines going through Hattiesburg. One of which goes to the port of Gulfport, the other which goes to the port of New Orleans. Then we have 5 commercial airports within a couple hours. Of course, those are on, one of those is on the Gulf Coast, but most importantly, the access to the port of Gulfport. And it being strategically designated as Department of Defense strategic port, not only huge for Camp Shelby, in South Mississippi, but also a big deal for our mega site because it allows us to kind of play in that Department of Defense arena.
Todd, just a couple of minutes left. You mentioned Bill Cork and MDA a little while ago. What is the working relationship? And I know it's a good relationship, but in terms of MDA helping the ADP in terms of landing a major tenant, a major investment into the Pine Belt, how does that work?
And I think the reality is, Richard, we can't do it without them, So they are extremely close partners. A lot of times these large companies, they're looking across, sometimes 10, sometimes 20 different states, right? So they don't come to Todd Jackson in Hattiesburg, Mississippi when it's that large of a project. They go to each state and the governor and the governor's economic development team. So it's an absolutely necessary partnership. And man, I'll be honest, we work so closely with the MDA team from top to bottom. Outstanding team. We're a lot like a family a lot of times, which means we can argue over Thanksgiving dinner sometimes. We may not see things the same way, but that's what a healthy and productive relationship is, right? And ultimately, we all, come to a decision, decide to move forward together and make good things happen in Mississippi. Again, I think the most important thing, whether this is local or whether this is at the state level, is this is not about us, right? This isn't about me. This isn't about the ADP. This is about Hattiesburg, Greater Hattiesburg. This is about South Mississippi. This is about providing more opportunities for Mississippians. So the sooner we can get ourselves out of the way in all of these conversations, the better off Mississippi is going to be.
My thanks to Steve Lampton for setting this up. He's District 1 Supervisor, Lamar County, and President of the Forest Lamar Alliance. He stepped aside and said, you take the conversation, Todd. I appreciate you giving us a little insight into what's happening in the greater Hattiesburg area, specifically with the Eagle One mega site. Wish you nothing but the best going forward, and Merry Christmas. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Richard. We appreciate the opportunity.
Enjoyed the visit. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi rolls on. We got about half an hour left with you. Really good conversation with Todd Jackson. This is what it looks like in the early stages. When we've talked about Link, they're down the line, right? They're working on mega site number 5, the Cinco project. This is number 1. This is Eagle 1 in the Pine Belt, and there is a massive investment that has gone on. They have taken on the risk, and now they're waiting for the reward. And that's a hard place to be, but kudos to the folks in Lamar and Forest counties for taking that risk and getting to the finish line. We got a quick timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross rolls on after this, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net.
From theseabrook.com.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I don't see you guys rating the kind of mate I'm contemplating. I'd let you watch, I would invite you, but the queens we use would not excite you. So you better go back to your bars, your temples, your massage parlors.
Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota, located in Oxford on Highway 6 West. What a selection they've got on the lot right now. On the Ford side of things, if you're looking for a new F-150, an F-250, an Expedition, a Bronco, man, they got a great new selection and also an incredible selection of pre-owned vehicles. If you go just up the hill, same location, got, little driveways that connect them, Oxford Toyota. Maybe it's the Tundra, maybe it's the 4Runner, maybe it's the Tacoma that, you want to talk about can't kill them. They just run forever. Or maybe it's the new Land Cruiser or one of the Toyota cars in their lineup. They got a great selection right there for you. Also, you're dealing with great people. The Belk family has been in the automobile industry for over 100 years. Belk Ford has been going strong since 1961. They're not going anywhere. Great people that work there. The sales process will be as easy as it can possibly be. They're going to take care of you. They're going to listen to you. They're going to help you find the vehicle that you're looking for at a price point that you can afford, and you can take advantage of some great financing deals right now, including on a brand new F-150, 0% for 60 months, and a $1,000 rebate on your purchase of a new F-150. Learn more. Belkford.com, Belkford.net, OxfordToyota.com, or maybe you're coming into Oxford this weekend for the college football playoff game with Ole Miss and Tulane. Stop by and see them. Highway 6 West in Oxford. Tell them you heard about them, please, from Richard, on Mornings with Richard Cross or Super Talk Mississippi. Lance, when you go to a football game, what is the number one thing you want to do?
Get a hot dog and a...
No. It's not a trick question. Number one thing you want to do when you go to a football game?
Win.
Well, you want to watch the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Like you're sitting in your seat, you want to watch the game. But sometimes you do want to get a hot dog. And sometimes nature calls. In the NFL, the stadium where on average the longest wait exists for a restroom is Northwest Stadium. That is the home of the Washington Commanders. Used to be the Washington Redskins. By the way, they're supposed to be getting a new stadium in the next few years. The average wait time for a restroom at the home of the Washington Commanders is more than 20 minutes. That's no good because you're there to watch the game, and instead you got to stand in line, but you don't really have any choice but to stand in line when you need to be standing in line, if you know what I mean. There are 5 stadiums in the NFL where the average wait time for a restroom is longer than 20 minutes. The Commanders at Northwest Stadium, the Vikings at US Bank Stadium. That makes no sense because that one's relatively new. Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, they've got a new stadium on the way. Everbank in Jacksonville, major renovations happening there. And Soldier Field, they're trying to get a new stadium. That's the home of the Bears. The 6 shortest waits, less than 7 minutes in waiting for the facilities. NRG Stadium in Houston, Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, Lumen Field, home of the Seahawks in Seattle, Gillette Stadium, that's at Foxborough, that's where the Patriots play, and the newest stadium in the NFL, SoFi Stadium, home of the Rams and the Chargers. Your average wait time for the facilities, Less than 7 minutes. And with that information and $3 in your pocket, you can buy a cup of coffee. But at least you don't have to wait in line a long time. I don't know. Brad Rowland is the Associate Commissioner for Real Estate and Facilities for the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning, IHL. He's the guy that is in charge of making sure that all the buildings on all of the college campuses in Mississippi are in working order, or if they need updating or renovations, he's supposed to figure out how to make that happen. The Gordian Group is it's a consulting company that is working in conjunction with the IHL to help them evaluate the facility's needs across 1,631 buildings, comprising over 42 million gross square feet of space. 25% of the state of Mississippi's public buildings on college campuses under the IHL. Within the IHL, there are currently across 9 campuses, including UMMC, there are 171 active construction projects totaling more than $1.8 billion in expense. The projects are funded through a combination of state funds, university funds, private donations, and some federal grants that are there as well. In terms of age, some of the buildings on college campuses in Mississippi are so old that they are requiring significant ongoing maintenance just to keep them operational. So what would it take to address all of the facilities needs on all of the campuses in Mississippi? In addition to that $1.8 billion in work that is going on right now, another $1.6 billion is needed to address all building needs within the IHL system. Rowland said this: when looking at all backlog and priority renewal across our system, their target investment is somewhere around $130 to $140 million a year. It's important that we address the backlog. If we fail to address backlog, that only continues to grow each year. And so the bond request from the IHL to the legislature in this upcoming session is expected to be right at $130 million. Rowland said overall, from a system-wide perspective, our buildings are not in bad shape. We do need to invest. The highest maintenance backlog on any campus is at Mississippi Valley State, a little over $108 million. Shortly behind them, Southern Miss with about $107 million in need. And again, this is for maintaining the current facilities. It's not for building new ones. Those numbers are staggering. So $3.4 billion to take care of the existing maintenance issues, the projects that are currently underway, and fix all of the ones that are on the horizon. And then once you do that, you start all over, because then you've got new needs. That's crazy. Big, 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 big money. Mississippi's senatorial delegation, talking about Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde-Smith, voted in favor of the National Defense Authorization Act yesterday. That's for fiscal year 26, sending $901 billion in defense spending to President Trump's desk. The vote passed fairly easily. Stop the presses. It was a bipartisan supported bill. The NDAA voted on 77-20 in favor of, provides a pay raise for troops, 3.8%, and that outpaces inflation. That's good news. And it implements policy reforms through appropriations that are vital for defense and national security activities. Also authorizes funding the nation's nuclear weapons program and military construction and family housing projects. Who knew this needed to be done? But officially, this year's legislation ends the war in Iraq, repealing the authorization for the 2003 invasion. Roger Wicker is chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He helped shepherd the legislation through the process. He has frequently raised concerns over the need for the United States to deter aggression from increasingly hostile nations like China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. He noted that this particular Defense Authorization Act sets the U.S. on a path to modernize its defense capabilities and augment drone manufacturing, shipbuilding efforts, and the development of innovative, low-cost weapons. The White House appears to be for this. This act also, and this is the bipartisan nature of it, there were some things that Democrats wanted in this bill that they got there. But there's some things that Republicans wanted as well, including repealing diversity, equity, inclusion offices and associated trainings, as well as climate change programs at the Pentagon. Cindy Hyde-Smith said the bill sets the stage for President Trump to accelerate his peace through strength national security agenda. And Roger Wicker pointed out that Mississippi's status as a multi-domain state, a term that indicates leadership across an array of American military capabilities, sea, land, space, and cyberspace. Nearly $530 million allocated for military installations and defense industry sites in the state of Mississippi.
From the Venable
7.3.
In Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Andy says, sounds like a lot of mismanagement to me to get behind that far with routine maintenance of your existing buildings. Typical, though. Let's just line up at the trough of the state taxpayer. That may not be entirely fair, Andy. I do understand the sentiment. But the IHL does allocate funds for building projects. The legislature approves those funds, and it's an ongoing thing. I mean, when you talk about that many buildings, I mean, you're talking about 9 universities when you include University of Mississippi Medical Center. I mean, 1,700 buildings across those campuses. It's not like you can just fix them all at once. And you know as well as I do, there is you might have an idea when your air conditioning's going out, like it's making a funny sound, and feel like it's on its last legs, but sometimes that thing will hold on for 3 more years. And sometimes it goes out yesterday. And so I don't know that is way out of line. Now, if you wanted to make the argument in a state of 3 million people, we shouldn't have 9 state-supported universities, I would certainly listen to that argument. What is needed is college. Let me try again. What is needed is colleges to stop the athletic facilities arms race. Can you imagine if K-12 did that? Yeah, but the difference in that is those are privately funded. And there is a fascinating case study that is now underway at Ole Miss. You may have seen that Ole Miss has issued an RFP, a request for proposal for a public-private partnership. It is a scenario where private developers would come in and handle potentially all of the stadium renovations that are needed, increased capacity, more luxury seating, but then would also develop an area, kind of an entertainment district outside and around the stadium. We can talk about that more in the future. I don't know that I've got time to go deep into that right now, but it is a fascinating deal. And I was told yesterday that in just the week or so since the RFP went out, that there has been a lot of interest, a lot of formal inquiries for more information, for guidelines on proposals. And this could be anywhere from a $300-400 million project up to, depending on the way it's structured, north of $1 billion. And at no cost to the university. It really is a fascinating concept. It's going on at kind of a micro level in a few places. This may be the most aggressive RFP, public-private partnership in college athletics, though, with what Ole Miss is proposing and seeking. And it's going to be really fascinating to see what it looks like as that unfolds. Your restroom story reminds me of that old Burt Reynolds movie where he tapes a flask to his leg. Yeah, generally speaking in college athletics, though, those flasks that are taped to legs are for a different purpose. That is for intake, not outflow for most people. Oh, me. Man, what a weekend coming up. With the college football playoff in Mississippi for the first time ever. This is only year 2 of on-campus games, and Ole Miss in a spot. Oxford's going to be bustling this weekend. We're in the middle of college basketball. We're a week from Christmas Day. Programming note, I suppose I should pass along to you. Going to be some folks filling in for me over the next couple of weeks. And when we get back and rolling, it is going to be time for the 2026 legislative session. And it is going to be, I think, a doozy. I don't know. Maybe it's like all bark, no bite with regard to this year's legislative session. But we know that there is a lot that is on the horizon. We've talked with many of the issues that we anticipate seeing being at the forefront of the legislature with Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann earlier this week, Speaker of the House Jason White last week, Chairwoman Nicole Boyd yesterday on Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. Everybody wants to know about mobile gambling. Well, I'd probably get to that at some point as well. It's going to be a fun time. I would like to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I wish you a happy Hanukkah and a happy holiday season. Thanks for being with us. For Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. This show works because of you, and I cannot thank you enough for being a regular, for joining the conversation on the C Spire text line, and for contributing to the conversation on a daily basis. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. For Lance, I'm Richard. Have a great Thursday, a great weekend, and a great Christmas. We're back tomorrow morning, Mornings with Richard Cross at 6 a.m.
You're a SuperTalk Mississippi media production.